And Kyra Cooney-Cross, new to the starting 11 this week. Kyra, can she have a similar impact this afternoon as we get underway in round 2 of the W League at Bankwest Stadium, and immediately Western Sydney pushing forward. And Andy Harper, can you see the Wanderers making it back-to-back wins for the first time to begin a season, or can the Jets keep just producing these outstanding performances?
Well, it can go either way, Ben, which is a great place to be at the start of a football match. Not to have a lay-down misère. The Wanderers will be favourites. So many star players, but the Jets forged by their own local identity, as you've referred, all local players basically. And there's something special about Newcastle teams when they, from the area, pulling on the Jets shirt. That can raise their levels, which I think is going to happen here tonight against the Wanderers.
Here is Hamilton. Back heel, neat piece of skill, and wins an early free kick for the home side. She's going to be so dangerous. One game in the W League and already a goal. She scored that equaliser against Adelaide right on the stroke of half-time. Now she's won an early free kick. So Mastrantonio to stand over it. She calls it, almost looked as though it was a training ground manoeuvre again there, because you saw Kristen Hamilton waiting at the back post, and had she got some contact on that, Claire Quayle in the Jets goal may have had some work to do. The Jets having won their last 3 against Western Sydney. Overall head-to-head, the Jets with 5 wins from the 9 matches played, Western Sydney 4. Have struggled in the last few years of the W League, trying to turn that around. Western Sydney. Another early opportunity. Here's Holloway pushing forward from right fullback. Copus Brown got a boot in. She was outstanding last week against Melbourne City as well, as were the entire Jets 11 and bench players that came on. Kristen Hamilton on the turn, getting away from Tamplin momentarily. And the youngster doing well to block the attempted cross. And Tegan Collister almost winning the ball from Nevin. Drops it all the way back to Sam Starb. And here's Hun, who scored, I should say, who played for the Jets. She debuted for the Newcastle Jets back in 2010, 17 matches before she headed over to the US to play college football. On to Harrison, misguided ball picked out by Jenna Kingsley. Now Copus Brown's pass skews off the side of her boot. You can see the speed of the surface already, and with a bit of moisture out there, Harps. It's going to be a fast start to this one, you'd expect, as you see the ball just rifle away to Hamilton. Tries to use possession to find Lynn Williams up front. Simon back to Brewer. Now Cass Davis. Wide to Tessa Tamplin. His pass is straight into the path of Amy Harrison, who takes it on from distance and just pushes it wide. It was worth a try from there.
That's a good hit, and would have expected better direction from herself, but good positive play from Amy Harrison, and back playing out of midfield where she first gained notoriety, and recent times after those injuries, horrible knee injuries, and again, it's great to see Amy back and playing in the national team as a left fullback, etc. But midfield's her go, and she gets a great opportunity here at the Wanderers to reconsolidate that.
Well, interestingly enough, her last goal in the W League was against the Jets almost 5 years ago when she played for Sydney FC, and it was in a match which involved an absolute deluge. It was a 2-2 draw. Jets had to win to make the finals. It ended up being 2-2. Sydney went through, and it absolutely bucketed down late on in that one. And we could have similar conditions this afternoon. It's Copus Brown back to Wheeler. Got a clip.
Very clever play from Claire Wheeler. So Copus Brown's quite confident when the ball coming her way. Great to see. He's happy to innovate with a touch here and a touch there to get away from the defenders, but very clever play from Claire Wheeler to win that free kick.
Tara Andrews almost losing a footing there. Have the ball away to Nevin. The turn in midfield from Denise O'Sullivan, who was a guest player at Canberra United last year. And she did play against the Jets, and she was absolutely outstanding. just the 7 matches. So such a key for Wanderers this year. The Irish import. Ireland not making it through to the Women's World Cup. They finished 3rd in their qualification group, which featured the Netherlands, who of course made the final against the US. One lady who was at that World Cup with the Matildas, Gemma Simon, with the throw. Ball skidding off the surface away from Tara Andrews. Here's Hun. Now Abby Smith. All curled up the line looking for Cooney Cross, but Tessa Tamplin in the way, who has a ribbon in her hair because when she was a youngster, her granddad didn't know which player she was on the park, and she said, I'll put a ribbon in my hair just so you can tell who I am. And just recently her grandfather has passed away, and now she wears that ribbon in honour of him. Here's Amy Harrison. Be attempting a half, just maybe in 2 minds. They're looking to pass, shot, and in the end, neither. And it's going to be a goal kick for the Jets.
But twice now in quick succession, Amy Harrison within range of the goal. Having a crack twice, so Greg Deans on the Jets bench will be paying due attention to that.
Well, coached his 50th W League match last week in the draw against Melbourne City. Most experienced Newcastle Jets coach. 18 wins in that period of time. And his first year he had a homegrown side as well, and they were a win away from making it into the finals. So he's already shown what he can do with a locally based contingent of players. There's one of the new recruits. They didn't have too many this year. That's Nikki Flannery. We are going to see a corner kick for the Newcastle Jets as they look to build some pressure here. Haven't had much possession down this end of the ground. Could they make something happen from the set piece? Abby Smith marshalling her defence as the ball comes across. Tara Andrews with the header. She got a decent piece of it. Just pushed it wide though.
Well, Tara Andrews using her height advantage to win the corner, and now getting a good position with a decent effort on goal too. Not easy to direct the header there, and Starb was putting her under some pressure. That just goes to show one of the avenues to goal that is an advantage for the Jets. It's the height of Tara Andrews, and very dangerous inside that penalty area if she gets any share of possession at all.
And in the team news we saw before the match, the formations listed had Jenna Kingsley playing up front alongside Tara Andrews. It looks as though she may be just playing in behind her as she did last week against City. Here's Halloway knocking it forward. Hannah Brewer got up for the header. Does bounce awkwardly in front of Kristen Hamilton. Wheeler can't get it away. Falls back for Mastrantonio. The strike is blocked and off the post. Somehow Newcastle have survived. Well, maybe they haven't. Here's Kyra Cooney Cross on a very tight angle. She couldn't cut it across goal.
Well, the Jets' defence just couldn't deal with it. Hannah Brewer firstly couldn't get anything on it, and it was just bouncing awkwardly for Claire Wheeler, who couldn't make a play on the ball. And the shot from Harrison, her third, finds at least the woodwork this time, but from that range, slight deflection as well in defence of Amy. Great chance for Wanderers.
Cobus Brown up with the header, and Tara Andrews brought to ground by Mastrantonio.
And again, 3 times Tara has been involved with the game now, and 3 times to effect. Won the corner, header on goal, and now this free kick, just using her body really well.
And this is Tara Andrews' 3rd season back since she had the year off. And the first 2 seasons, she just struggled with injury. This is the first year she's actually played first 2 matches, and she's been impressive thus far. Almost getting on the end of that as Nevin's clearance on the bounce towards Hamilton. Looking forward, seeing the run of Williams across to the left. And now Amy Harrison picking the pocket of Copus Brown. Rolls it wide to Lynn Williams. We know how deadly she is. Second top goal scorer in the NWSL the last 2 seasons with North Carolina Courage. The player ahead of her both years, Sam Kerr. She was the Golden Boot winner in 2016 though, so she has claimed the title before. Mastrantonio. Now O'Sullivan. Wide to Halloway. Inboard to Cooney Cross. Former Melbourne Victory player. First year at the Wanderers as Claire Wheeler just got a boot in. And you may have seen a flash of lightning. There is a lot of weather around. Hopefully it doesn't have too much of an impact, but we'll wait and see. Mastrantonio picking up the ball in midfield, rolling it wide to Nevin, who's pushed up the left fullback. That's a terrific ball from Mastrantonio. And now Harrison rolls it wide to Hamilton, who almost bent it in towards that top corner. But what a ball from Mastrantonio.
Well, indeed. But the problem for the Jets as it's emerging is the space that Amy Harrison is getting in the advanced part of midfield. There's Amy Harrison now picking the ball up around the edge of the D. Line ball for onside, offside. The shot goes out for a goal kick anyway. So the Jets are lined up with 3 central defenders and pivoting wing fullbacks. But that often means that they've got 4 defenders marking 2 Wanderers strikers, and no one's picking up Amy Harrison. Midfield is outnumbered, and Amy Harrison is getting too much room for the Jets to handle at the moment. Here's a good break opportunity, though.
And that was outstanding work from Jenna Kingsley. And the goal scorer from last week, Tegan Collister, way down that far flank. The sound around number 2 Sports Ground when she scored the equaliser last Sunday was just immense. And you were talking before, Harps, about how Newcastle really get behind homegrown sides. They get behind their sides regardless, but when they know they've got a lot of local players in there, just goes to another level. It's Tara Andrews onto Copus Brown. Seen her strike goals from distance before. Not on that occasion. She couldn't find the radar. Here's O'Sullivan. Again, Amy Harrison on this occasion. Claire Wheeler read it well and wins the free kick. Her confidence has gone to another level. Amy Harrison spent the year in the NWSL with Washington Spirit alongside teammate Sam Starb. Flannery looping this ball up and over the top in front of Gemma Simon. O'Sullivan tracked back well though. Here's Hun. Kicking it forward. Flannery to Copus Brown. Cass Davis drills the pass to Flannery. Looking for an option forward. Saw Tara Andrews. Lovely close control. Trying to drop it in front of Jenna Kingsley, who was offside.
Yeah, good little passage for the Jets. It's the Wanderers who've had most of the ball and been able to build most of the attack. There's the first real opportunity, quarter of an hour in, for Newcastle to string some passes together, move their way through the Wanderers' half of the field and try and hit that key pass. See, that's line ball for offside, and it's probably onside, truth be known.
Well, that's a couple now. One for the Wanderers and one for the Jets. Very tight as Cooney Cross curls the pass wide to Hamilton. And now Amy Harrison, well, there was space for her again there. Flannery takes off away from O'Sullivan. It was the pressure from the Irish import, which forced the pass back to Western Sydney. Well, speaking of Jenna Kingsley, former Wanderer herself, scored 2 goals for the club and in Jets colours has got a decent record against them. 4 goals across her career. Hamilton turning away from Simon. O'Sullivan. Now Lynn Williams. That is a really tough battle for Tess Tamplin this afternoon. Up up against Lynn Williams as she drills that ball across. Flannery with the attempted flick up the park. Just has so much time, doesn't she, Denise O'Sullivan? Mastrantonio now to Starb. And a Brewers header, not her best effort. It falls for Lynn Williams. Couldn't get the power or precision behind that strike, but it is a shot.
Well, it's fortunate for Newcastle. I don't think that should have been up to Hannah Brewer to clear. That's clearly got to go through to the keeper with a bit of communication. In the end, it falls into the hands of Claire Coelho. Maybe one action later than it should have.
So free kick here for the Jets. Not a bad position, especially with the height of Tara Andrews. Speed of Jenna Kingsley in that front line. So Starb and Hun with some work to do here. As Davis drops it in front of Andrews, Jenna Kingsley. Back to Copus Brown, looking to shoot again. Lovely pass to Jenna Kingsley, but it all went to right. Kingsley couldn't find a teammate. Nicoletta Flannery on the left. Now Wheeler between the lines. Lovely one-touch football between Kingsley and then Andrews' pass. Breaking it all down for the Jets. Now there is some weather around Bankwest Stadium. Let's head down to the sideline just after this attacking raid. We'll stick with Kristen Hamilton. Can she make something happen for the Wanderers? 1-on-1 with Gemma Simon, cuts it across. And again, Lynn Williams with a chance. Let's go down to the sideline. Tara Rushton, what is the latest with the weather?
Yeah, thanks, Benny. Well, the rain, it's pouring pretty consistently down here. We are staying dry, though. Just look, with regards to the weather and whether the game will or will not be called off, it is a matter of whether the Thunder is within 30 seconds of the Lightning. We saw one lightning strike a little bit earlier, probably 5 or 6 minutes ago. The match commissioner is within the stadium taking a look at the weather. There's someone outside the stadium as well who can take a better view. At the moment, we are all good to go and the match will continue, but it all comes down to Thunder and Lightning being within 30 seconds of each other. If that does happen, the game would have to be suspended for 30 minutes or so. But I'll keep you posted.
Thanks, Tara. And we'll wait and see. Hopefully it's not impacted because obviously that would then push the A-League kickoff back.
Yeah, well, this is new territory for the American players coming out of the college system because something like any thunderstorm within 30-mile radius and the game stops. Everything stops. So I don't know how they'll be faring, hearing these rumblings very close by. At any rate, it's good to hear that people are onto the issue. The other one brewing today, Ben, was the air quality issue. Start of play in Sydney today. Not talking this morning. Sydney's air quality was, I think, ranked as the 8th or 9th worst on the planet.
Yeah, and it wasn't much better in Newcastle this morning either. It was pretty poor. The bushfires around and the wind blowing the smoke about. It's been pretty bad for the last few weeks. Copus Brown's clearance straight into the path of O'Sullivan. Striding forward onto Harrison. Now Hamilton did score in that win against Adelaide in the opening weekend. As Copus Brown looks up and sees the run of Tessa Tamplin. 1-on-1 with Williams. Just had the speed to get there. What a season she had alongside Denise O'Sullivan, and here's a free kick for the Jets. And also Kristen Hamilton, all at North Carolina Courage. They've won the last 2 championships and the last 3 premierships. There's that free kick going against Kyra Cooney-Cross. So dominant in the NWSL. They won that grand final 4-0 against Sam Kerr's Chicago Red Stars. Cass Davis looking up, and are pretty dominant last year against Portland Thorns. Abby Smith finding Mastrantonio. One player who didn't get any game time in the NWSL, Abby Smith. She was with Utah Royals. Kyra Cooney-Cross again, looking forward. Hamilton has Williams in the middle again. Just overhits the cross. Courtney Nevin will catch up with it though. She had Tamplin in front of her, decided just to pick the pass beautifully to Amy Harrison. Now Nevin with the left boot. Wasn't a bad delivery. Now Tara Andrews was dispossessed momentarily by Mastrantonio. Almost rolled into the path of Flannery. Wanderers just control things and calm things down for the moment with the skipper, Erica Halloway. O'Sullivan and Harrison. Combination between those two will develop as the season goes on. Neat combination between those two right then and there. Hun. The surface is pretty quick, but Courtney Nevin is as well, catching up with the ball just inside the line. Finds O'Sullivan. Now Mastrantonio. He's a scorer of decent goals. We saw her first in the Here's Kyra Cooney-Cross. She too a scorer of good goals as well. We saw that last week.
Well, that was Cooney-Cross's best moment of the game. Just linked up beautifully with Mastrantonio. Rides the first challenge, which was pretty ineffective. Then the secondary coverage wasn't all that much better, but still the Jets had players in proximity. But Cooney-Cross shot past them, through them, and then shot with purpose.
Flannery under some pressure from Halloway. Illegal pressure, according to Kelly Jones. Looks pleased with that. The former Canberra United player. 4 seasons with United. She's been playing with Sydney Uni in the NPLW in Sydney, along with Claire Wheeler and Tegan Collister, her teammates, and Courtney Vine, who's on the bench for Western Sydney, and also the backup goalkeeper for the Wanderers, Courtney Newbon. Mastrantonio forward, and Lynn Williams, well, should have needed to get on a bike to catch up with that, as it skidded off the surface.
They're the opportunities that the Wanderers are looking for Williams. And players mindful of that tactic just need to pull back on the pass. 20 minutes in, they should have acclimatised to the speed of the playing surface, and they're exactly the opportunities that Dean Heffernan would be wanting his team to put on for Lynn Williams.
Yeah, I know during the NRL season, the talk about this ground was it gets very dewy, so you'd be thinking, I know this is the first match that Wanderers have played here, you'd be thinking about probably trying to keep the ball along the turf, because as soon as it's bouncing, it's just running away from Lynn Williams, isn't it?
That last one certainly did, and just plenty of time just to set the pass up a little better.
Cass Davis towards Tara Andrews. It looks as though the rain may have just eased a little bit, but the surface still pretty damp. Andrews flicking it on to Kingsley. Clearance a decent one by Kuhn. Cass Davis, who was playing for Warners Bay locally in northern New South Wales as WPL during the off-season. The off-season for the W League, that is, because really, in women's football, there isn't much of an off-season. Denise O'Sullivan straight from the NWSL to the W League. Halloway, she was playing in the NPLW with Illawarra Stingrays. Hun in Queensland. Very busy. All 22 players out there during the W League down months as Hannah Brewer now between the lines to Kingsley. Opus Brown has the speed of Flannery, and the pass is going to evade her again.
Well, it's a crucial error because the Jets haven't been able to set up a lot of attacks at the moment. They've been defending very diligently, and such a makeable pass. Overhit, needlessly overhit. Great chance to attack the Wanderers' penalty area. Comes to nothing.
Now Victoria Slater's on the sideline. She's got some in-depth info. Let's go down to the sideline, Victoria.
Yeah, watching the team warm up and chatting to the coaching staff, I got the sense the anticipation was higher than their season opener. So much has been made about these 3 imports, you know, Sullivan, Hamilton and Williams. Speaking to Dean Heffernan, he just wanted to get the game off and running to ease the butterflies and let their performances do the running.
Well, we saw Lynn Williams again there, looking pretty confident, striding forward again. I think that's her 3rd shot. Probably in the last 15 minutes or so, she's really come into the game. Kingsley mucked that up, and Denise O'Sullivan on to Williams. Going out on the left for her, and again, a strike on goal. Just slid along the surface and wide of Claire Quaylo's goal. Who finished her law degree this week, had a final exam on Monday. So she's free. Nothing better than the last uni exam of the year and of the university life, all done and dusted for the Jets goalkeeper. There's Starb. And now Hun, who was playing for Souths United in the Queensland MPLW. A couple of goals in that competition in 20 appearances. Wanderers with a free kick in range again, and Newcastle struggling to hold on to possession. They've had just 32%. Again, they give it away.
Well, there's no foul there on Gemma Simon, really. Kristen Hamilton had already lost her balance and was heading for the turf. It's the point Hannah Brewer, I'm sure, was making. Maybe they should have enlisted the help of their newly minted lawyer goalkeeper. Prosecute the case.
Don't mind that idea. Take the case to court mid-match. Sports Tribunal. So Courtney Nevin standing over the ball. On that left boot, you'd expect she'd try and bend this one across, and does. Straight into the arms of the Jets keeper, though. And Quaylo looking to release Brewer and Collister. Lovely ball from Brewer onto Tegan Collister. And the Sydney Uni speedster is showing her pace down the ground. Well, Kingsley's gone down in the middle of the park. A very good tackle by Hun to dispossess Collister, but Kingsley not impressed with the treatment she got. Just see there, the rain has begun to fall at Bankwest again. And Kelly Jones has called a halt to proceedings, and it looks as though this thunderstorm is a little too close for comfort. So almost half an hour gone. There's Dean Heffernan. Looks fairly happy with how his side have started this match. And there is thunderstorm. There is a thunderstorm around. There is some pretty heavy rain as well. And while it's not too heavy at the moment, it's too close for player safety. And that means we're going to have a pause in proceedings as it stands currently. Courtney Nevin's been good thus far on the left for Western Sydney. The Wanderers, of course, looking to make it 2 consecutive wins to begin a season for the very first time in their W League history. And the Newcastle Jets attempting to back up that draw that they had with Melbourne City in the opening match day. There's Laurie McKinnon, Newcastle Jets CEO. Looks a little perplexed. So at the moment, we're just going to wait and see how long the match is going to be delayed for. We'll get the latest to you as soon as we have it. And if you are coming to the A-League match a little bit later, it could mean that that match is delayed. And while we have got this break in proceedings, we are going to take a quick break, and we will be back as soon as we possibly can to bring you the latest on these conditions at Bankwest Stadium. It's 0-0 between the Jets and the Wanderers after almost half an hour.
Welcome back to a wet Bankwest Stadium between the Western Sydney Wanderers and the Newcastle Jets. The Wanderers at home for the first time this season, and well, they've had to press pause on their plans. Lydia Williams probably wondering what's going on as she plays her very first game here down under. She's pretty far away from home from the US. Welcome back. I'm Tara Rushton, joined by Andy Harper. Harps, we've come on earlier than anticipated.
Couldn't stay away, Tara.
Just wanted to be back because there has been a weather delay. So to give you a little bit of information around that, it's when thunder and lightning occur 30 seconds apart from each other. So we had some lightning, and then within a 30-second window, we had some thunder, and vice versa. So what it means is that the game has been delayed for 30 minutes. If there is any lightning or thunder within that time frame, that 30-minute clock starts all over again. But of course, player safety first. Harps, interesting though, we need the rain. We actually need the rain, especially up north, right? But in terms of the game and what happens, well, kind of presses pause and pushes a big pause button, doesn't it?
But, you know, like you say, this is a blessing in the bigger picture, because according to the radar I looked at, a lot of this storm activity was coming over the fire that's been causing so much trouble in the greater western regions of Sydney, around the Wallamai National Park, etc. So there's some relief there, you'd imagine. I mean, I can't say that categorically, but just looking at the map, that looks like where that storm activity has been centred, and it's come into the centre of the west here in Parramatta. It's providing a pretty spectacular backdrop, I've got to say, and for a parched country in which we live at the moment, it's a beautiful thing to see rain falling. Isn't
it? It's something that we have been waiting for weeks now, in the heart of course, the bushfires that have struck northern New South Wales and up towards Queensland as well. Thoughts and prayers with all those affected. You're up that way as well, Harps. Looking at the Western Sydney Wanderers and the Newcastle Jets and what we've seen in the opening 30 minutes or so, the Wanderers with the majority, I guess, of the best gameplay and possession. Interesting one for Dean Heffernan, I guess, to juggle now heading into the sheds as well. But what have you made overall of what you've seen so far?
Well, Tara, I think the game has gone pretty much completely to expectation, just as a general flow of things. The Wanderers, we're expecting to dominate most of the possession and to be bossing Newcastle around, and Newcastle not being bossed from their point of view. They're pretty happy to sit in and make sure they defend diligently, which they've done very, very well, and the 2 or 3 features. So from a Wanderers viewpoint and from Dean Heffernan's viewpoint, I'm sure that he'll be a little bit frustrated, might be too strong a word, because they've looked reasonably good, but they haven't been able to get Lynn Williams into the game the way he would have imagined. She's had a couple of shots on goal. This was Amy Harrison hitting the post. But there's been 2 or 3 times when they've had the chance to drop the ball into space for Williams to attack and use her speed. That's one of her real assets. Hasn't quite come off. Hamilton's looked a little bit dangerous. But the other major feature from my point of view for the Wanderers has been the positions Amy Harrison has been able to take up in, I guess, the number 10 space, the advanced midfield space. And she's looking really good, Amy Harrison. The first 2 efforts on goal were wayward. The third one was deflected onto the post. And it's a worry for the Newcastle Jets, and it will be a worry, I should say, if Amy can continue to pick up that sort of possession in that part of the ground where the Jets have been a little bit underpersoned, haven't been able to cover that ground as well as they might, and they're courting danger because of that.
It was interesting because you spoke about it in commentary, the amount of space that Amy Harrison could get and do it facing forward. After their opening clash against Adelaide United, she came to the end of the game because she started for the Matildas in that same week and then backed it up within 24, 48 hours or so. And at the end of the game, she said, oh man, my legs. She was done. I felt like she did need a little bit of a week to come back because she has started really, really brightly. You touched on Lynn Williams there as well, with them kind of closing her down and not being able to find the right balls that she needs. What would they, if the game continued, say we've got the remainder to play, what are they going to need to do to get her more into the game?
Well, look, the space is there. The setup has been there. I just think that it's been the execution of the final pass. One glaring example, and I think it was probably O'Sullivan, I can't quite recall, so apologies to Denise if I've got the name wrong, but the play opened up around about the centre of the field, halfway line. A really makeable pass as a switch to Lynn Williams, who had acres of space. And the scenario is, which Heffernan's imagined, it's why he brought Lynn to the team, that when the field breaks up and our clever midfielders, in this case, if it's not Williams, it's Amy Harrison, get the ball, Master Antonio, and can drop it into that space. Hamilton hit a beautiful blind pass once, just North Carolina courage in sync, ball's coming over her shoulder, knows Williams is down on the, and just hits it across the body. That's the sort of execution they want. She's going to be incredibly difficult to stop if that pass has got any measure of quality and gives her half a chance of getting on the end of it. You already see in the tighter exchanges around the penalty area with Lynn Williams, she's such a fantastic athlete that she makes space for herself purely because of those first 2 yards. And lesser athletes find that difficult to contain. So she's not just a one-trick pony. She's not just someone who can run at speed into space and cause damage. She can do stuff in tight as well. But I think the major scenario that they haven't really executed is Lynn Williams in space with the ball at her feet, very difficult to rein in.
I guess it could take a little bit of time as well. She's had a week with the team, and she's quite lucky in the end. There was a story in the papers this week about the fact that she could have ended up playing over in Melbourne, perhaps to Melbourne City, because her partner is a basketballer that lives in Melbourne, but instead she chose to come to the Wanderers. She loves the challenge. It'll be really interesting to see, speaking about that expectation that's on her, Denise O'Sullivan and Kristen as well. I mean, the bar's been set really high already, and it did speak to Dean Heffernan ahead of the game. He said they just want to start the game and they just want to get playing. He said, I don't want to talk too much about nerves or anything like that, but yeah, they know that they're arriving in Australia with a host of expectations on their shoulders, halves.
Well, I mean, the athletes that come out of the college system, we've talked about it through this platform before, but the athletes that come out of the college system in America learn to deal with expectation. This is, we have nothing comparable in this country. There is nothing comparable on the planet to college sport. And women's soccer is a major activity in big college programs. You know, these are campuses of 40, 50,000 students. Women's soccer is just such a big part of the athletic program there. So the likes of Lynn Williams and Hamilton and Starb and all the Americans who come to the W League out of that college system, they're used to 4 years of intense competition. Like, expectation won't faze them. You know, to get to that college level to start with, from 12-year-old going up, they've had to fight through a system where there's a massive logjam of wannabe aspirational athletes who want to get an athletic scholarship to get a degree so that they can build a career in sports the way they do it. So to get your way through to the top of that pile says something special about A, your character, and B, your athletic prowess. So coming to the A-League, and all the expectation that comes with it, well, of course that might have some sort of implication at some point, but going through a 4-year athletic program in a first division college system, whether it's Clemson, where Starb's from, whether it's Pepperdine, where Lynn Williams met her basketball partner, it doesn't really matter. There's such competitive outlets that only the best get through. It's really Darwinian. You know, it is the best survive and thrive. 80 games over 4 years plus of white-hot competition. That's not including the 6 years of getting through the system as a junior to be a scholarship athlete, if they do indeed get a scholarship. So, I mean, it's a long-winded answer, Tara. We've got a bit of time, let's face it. But the point, I think it's important for Australians to appreciate... It's
conditioning, though, isn't it,
just appreciate where these guys and girls are coming from into the Australian system. Harrison Delbridge in Melbourne City is another one out of the college system. This is they're sports factories. There's no other way of putting it. And I love the fact that in the W League we get such an influx of these athletes into the local scene, because the Aussie girls get to see exactly what top athleticism is all about.
It's interesting as well, Abigail Smith, their goalkeeper, she kind of made the decision to come and play for this club, the Wanderers, about a week or so ahead of the season. Jada Wyman, she had an operation on her patella because she's been in and out of the squad as well. And Abigail said, you know, I like the challenge yet again. I want to go and play down under. And here she is in goal. She did incredibly well in their season opener against Adelaide United. And she does just speak to that point of what you said, these players coming down and getting an opportunity down here as well.
Well, Benny Homer said it in commentary, and it's not the first. You know, that you've got to admire not just the way they play the game, but the fact that, you know, they do a full season in one part of the world, jump on a plane, straight into game activity in another part of the world. It's a carousel for the top women players in the world, and that system is going to settle down in time. It's already starting to happen in Europe, with the story around Sam Kerr, and now that, you know, the season, well-paid players playing a decent length season is going to stop them, and Sam talked about it herself. You know, she's getting to a point where she wants to minimise the amount of air travel in between games and indeed in between seasons to maximise her competition. Now that brings the W League and the American League into sharper focus. How do we manage that competition from Europe in conjunction with the Americans? It's like, it's almost like a tag team between us and the American system to try and provide a competitive outlet that in the W League sense is longer than 12 games. But you've really got to admire, if nothing else, there's plenty more to admire, but if nothing else, the sheer dedication and durability of these girls going from state to state, to country, season after season, back-ended into back-ended, with no rest, and still loving it.
I feel exhausted just from you telling me that.
Well, they're fantastic ambassadors
They are.
for top-level sport. Forget that it's football. That's our interest, Tara. but that they can do this on an annual basis from the Aussie girls do it from when they're teenagers. The Americans more typically once they've done their college system, but nevertheless, the commitment and the toll it takes and the commitment it requires is really remarkable. And to the rewards, which haven't quite come, they're starting to trickle through sooner rather than later, I say, and well deserved.
Yeah, very, very well deserved. Let's see how Wanderers coach Dean Heffernan is dealing with this weather delay. He's with Victoria Slater.
Yeah, Dean, well, safety first. Bit of a shame for you guys as you seem to have all the momentum there in that first half.
Yeah, it's been really good to watch. We were just talking to the girls then, and look, there's been some great moments when they shift the ball around and get into the areas that we need them to be in at certain moments. They're very hard to stop, and look, I think, yeah, it wasn't a good time, but we'll be ready as soon as the whistle goes again.
What was your message to the girls inside there?
Just more of the same. A couple of little tweaks here and there, especially defensively, just to get that sorted as well. But more of the same, that kind of energy and effort is all we need at the moment.
A lot of expectations on your 3 NWSL stars. What have you made of their performances so far?
Yeah, brilliant. They've been great. They've been great ever since they walked in the door. So there's always going to be expectations on them, I guess, but from now and how they are in the change room with the other girls and the help they can offer, they've been great. So a little bit of pressure on them, possibly. I guess it's more from themselves, but they're living up to their expectations, that's for sure. They've been great and very hard for defenders to deal with.
Thanks, Dean.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, great to hear from Dean Heffernan there. We've got news that it should be a 6 p.m. kickoff. We're about 12 minutes or so away before the women come back out onto the pitch. I guess really interesting time as a coach for what you've got to do now, Harps. You go back into the sheds, you have to keep the girls in game mode, and yet you've had a bit of a lull in play. What is key?
Well, very difficult. I mean, I don't know what they'd be doing, to be honest. I mean, I'd hate to be in that situation because, you get it's so much emotional stimulation to get ready for kickoff, so that you're ready to fire up against the Jets, up against a really talented and highly fancied opponent, and Wanderers up against an unfancied team, but who did incredibly well last week. So 20-odd minutes in, then you've got to go in and sit down and think, what was all that about? It's a really hard one for the players to deal with. So we'll get a first an eyewitness experience as to how, in fact, they deal with it. Restarts in just half a dozen minutes or so. But, Dean Heffernan, understandably happy with his team, would be expecting one or two things more in execution. So too Craig Deans in the Jets. I think he'd be sitting back and thinking, you know what, they haven't caused us too many problems. We didn't really overtly concede possession, but we were not surprised that with the quality that they've got and playing at home, they were going to dominate the ball. So he'd be sitting back thinking with his team, you know what, girls? Great job. Yeah. Excellent job. In fact, so good, I'm going to have a bit of a chip at you because we'd set up and you're such good players. When we'd organised the counter-attack and we'd sprung the trap, there were 3 occasions where we had Colliston down the right, Tara Andrews was causing trouble through the middle when we could get to the ball, and there was another 2 or 3 types on the counter-attack. You know what? We blew our lines. And I'm going to have a chip at you because if we can just turn the dial on that one a little bit, everyone's talking about the Wanderers this and the Wanderers that and these American national team players coming in. And you know what you can do? You can sit them on their backside with a little bit more concentration on those counter-attacking moments because the Jets have set up for it. They've certainly got the speed to you. Colliston down the right-hand side is a very impressive potential. And Tara Andrews is a good goal scorer. Yeah. Claire Wheeler has been outstanding again in that centre of midfield. Props could adjust her position a little bit and keep a half eye on Amy Harrison, who's causing a little bit of trouble. But, with Hannah Brewer at the back and Cassidy Davis into Claire Wheeler, and then those counter-attacks, mate, there's some ground to be gained for the Jets if they concentrate.
It is interesting, isn't it? Because that's exactly what they did in their opener against Melbourne City, and it was that pace of Tegan Collister that gave them a lot of joy, and she was great in all their attacking build-up, but it was that catching them on the counter when they least expect it and getting not just Tegan forward, but she needs to have someone in support as well. No,
it's certainly the case, and I think that will be Craig Deans' message. It was excellent application. We have to be more aware of the space around us. We've got to be over both our shoulders, but when you're up against clever players, particularly like Amy Harrison, who's really coming into herself, and Hamilton, as we know, you've got to be extra aware. But if you can deliver that extra awareness, and we can stay resolute and defiant, which is a Jets hallmark, then we've got enough weapons on the counter-attack to cause some trouble. And Tara up front, not you, Andrews, although I'm sure you'd love to be.
They would struggle.
Your Linfield days would be setting you up nicely.
Oh,
for
goodness
this one.
gracious,
And
super sub.
she can do the business, Tara. If she gets on the maybe 3 or 4 occasions, the Jets have been able to include her in the game, and it's all paid a dividend. All paid a dividend. And so Craig Deans needs to be building on. I'm sure he is downstairs right now, building on those foundation blocks and believing in his girls that they can do something here. And I maintain they can. I really think they can do something against the odds, which are stacked against them.
Well, let's hear what Craig Dean has made of their opening 30 minutes or so and what his instructions are. Here's with Victoria Slater.
Well, Craig, shame about the weather, but do you think it came at a good time? You were a bit under pressure there from the Wanderers?
Yeah, the weather's been kind to us. We were terrible. We didn't start the game in the way we wanted to. We didn't get control of the game at any stage. So, yeah, look, it's done us a huge favour. We had a chance to have a chat and regroup, and if we don't change it, it's going to be a long day.
What was in that chat to the girls?
Just basically not being afraid of why they're here and showing a true reflection of what they've got. They did a good job last week, but last week's a long time ago, and no one really cares about it anymore, to be honest. So, they've got a lot of improvement in them. They need to show it very quickly when we get back out there, but we'll change a few things tactically and see how we go.
What will you be changing when you get back out there?
Look, we'll change the formation a little bit. We've got a couple of options that we've looked at, so we'll change it. It's not working the way it was, so there's no point doing the same thing. So we'll change the formation, see if we can plug a few holes and start to get some control of the game ourselves.
Thanks, Craig. Good luck.
No worries. Thank you.
Yeah, well, he
Not
summed
as
it
happy.
up.
Not as happy. Not as happy. Let's see.
I think you saw it through a different lens, but, he did say, I guess he said terrible, but he wants the improvement, doesn't he? And he's got a big opportunity right now because 30 minutes in, he's getting that opportunity to say to girls,
Yeah, well.
okay, wiping the slate clean, let's go again.
You don't get thunder and lightning breaks every week. So what's Craig going to do outside of that next time he's got to do this? And why, surely he wasn't waiting for a weather break to make the changes, but we'll see. Look, there's no question they were playing second fiddle in possession and territory. And it'll be interesting to see, how he plugs up the centre of the midfield, which is where I thought they were having some trouble. The bigger issue for them, and then he hinted at it, and I agree, if this is a big thing for him, I agree with him, believing you can do something. Once you've set the trap and you've won the ball, believe you're entitled to the ball. Believe you're entitled to take on your opponent. Believe you're entitled to finish this move with an effort on goal. Believe it. Believe it. You're not there to make up the numbers. On that point, I wholeheartedly agree with it.
Young players, aren't there? There's young players, but there's a core group of players from Newey that are homegrown as well, that play in the NPL, in the competitions there, Harps, that really kind of hold this team together. A couple of similarities, you could say, when you look at the A-League and what the A-League side with the Jets and what they've been through. They came into tonight, they came into the season opener, and they openly said it, well, we're the underdogs, right? We don't have the big players, but we've got ourselves, and we're going to give it a red-hot crack. And sometimes it can work to their advantage, really, because they weren't overawed against Melbourne City last week. I know, though, Deansy was very right in saying, hello, we're not looking back there, we're looking straight ahead, because he's got a massive opportunity. But the girls here, like you say, Hannah Brewer, Cassie Davis, Gemma Simon, experience to say, let's go again.
So you just wonder, Tara, if last week playing against the Newcastle girl, Emily Van Egmond, who scored for a new team, congratulations to Emily for that. You just wonder if that provided an extra bit of motivation for the Newey girls. Because the Newcastle bond is a unique one, and it's a rich one, and I agree that maybe if they didn't have that, this team would already be beaten here today. So, not looking back to the City game, but maybe the Van Egmond factor produced even more adrenaline for the girls. If that was the case, then they've got to visualise 11 Emily Van Egmonds playing in red and black here today, if that's what it takes.
It is a good idea, Harps.
Yeah. Well, let's see if it can work for them.
Well, let's see if it does pay any benefits. We've got the Wanderers girls, they're out there now doing a warm-up. The rain is still falling. We've got play that's going to resume at 6 p.m, but so far it does look like we're going to have kick-off back. It's good to see the girls, they've gone out early. The Jets girls are still in the sheds.
Yeah, well, I don't know if the rain is making the hair frizz, or I'm not sure. It's killing my hair. I mean, the mow is just going off at the moment too.
Is this a good move? Getting acclimatised, get back out there early?
Ready, straight away. I mean, I would hate to be sitting inside, just tapping the bench, waiting for something. I know they've got room to move and knock the ball around, but always much prefer being out in the stadium, getting ready for play. The Jets are they playing psychological warfare here? Some of the great matches in history have been decided by teams that have dawdled out of the dressing room. Maybe that's Craig Dean's big tactical ploy. Yeah.
They're playing it down. We saw their captain, Erica Holloway. She is a football player right now this evening, but she's also a firefighter with Caitlin Cooper as well. And both of them were talking about, there was a nice article in the paper about it, but with all the fires going on as well, how they split and shift their time between being professional footballers and then also being part of the RFS as well and the work that they do. It is really remarkable how these women do balance dual roles, I guess.
Yeah.
Just two I'm mentioning, I'm sure they're partners, mothers, the works.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the fire situation brings Holloway straight into focus, sharper focus, and she just spoke so magnificently about her commitment to both professions, and increasingly the women's game is absorbing more time and more energy, and you need to have, at this stage of everything, a very willing and supportive employer, and thankfully, by the sounds of it, the fire service is providing that sort of support. But, you know, the bigger issues at play, I mean, the job that is done by people like that to then back up and come out and entertain us on the back of saving our lives. I mean, what are they, superheroes? It's great stuff.
Yeah, it is remarkable as well. Just letting you know, it is 2 minutes to resume this clash here. It is round 2. We continue it here at Bankwest Stadium. We've had a break in play due to the weather delay. Well, it's safety first, of course. We had lightning and thunder. It cannot strike within 30 seconds of each other, so we've delayed the game and pressed pause for 30 minutes to ensure that, of course, no one is injured. We've got the Newcastle Jets players. They have come out onto the pitch a little bit later, probably getting their final words from Craig Dean. So I guess this final 15 minutes, then you and I will be back for some more airtime, Harp. Sorry to the people at home about that one. But what's going to be key for how the Jets kick it off? Because they were on the back foot.
Yeah, well, first thing is to see what tweaks Craig Deans is going to administer, and then how well the players execute. But, you know, what they mustn't ditch is their resilience and willingness to see the Wanderers away. They need a little bit more craft on the counter-attack. He's got a lot more faith that they can dominate more of the possession, and certainly that's where a Claire Wheeler comes in, number 18, just in the back of the screen there. And it's a great picture, actually, because Tara Andrews, a towering striker up front, does provide the opportunity for them to hurt. But Claire Wheeler, if the Jets are going to dominate more possession, Claire Wheeler's going to be the key to that. So we'll see what positional changes Craig Deans has brought about.
Well, kick-off is moments away, Harps. Get back up to commentary. It's over to Ben Homer.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Tara. Good to be back up here and just about to get play underway. So we've got just over 15 minutes remaining in this first half of football. Western Sydney back in possession, and they were so dominant in the early part of the match. 11 shots to 2. Real total domination. And you heard Craig Deans before. Pretty scathing of his side. As Tess Tamplin takes the ball away from Courtney Nevin, who returns with possession for the Wanderers. Starb. Back to Nevin. Now Mastrantonio. Rolling the ball wide to Erica Holloway. Scored the 1 goal for the Wanderers last season, did Erica. It was a low-scoring season for them. Just 11 for the campaign. This woman is trying to change that in 2019. Lynn Williams rolling it across goal. Tess Tamplin winning possession back for the Jets. Copus Brown's touch has taken the ball back to Nevin. Looks wide and sees Amy Harrison. Calling it across goal. It was a dangerous ball. Quaylo awake to it. Lynn Williams probing and looking for her first goal in the W League. You sense she's not far away at the moment. She'll be feeling it with the chances she's had thus far. O'Sullivan. Now to Williams. Taking on Gemma Simon and winning a corner for Western Sydney. She actually has the record for most goals scored for her high school in America. Bullard High, 117 goals. That's more than any male or female player at that particular school. Lynn Williams, that's her record. A couple of weeks ago, she was back in the American national side in favour under the new coach, Vlatko Adanovsky, and scored a double in the 6-0 win over Costa Rica. So she's in fine form at the moment. Here's the ball across goal. Will fall for Mastrantonio and drills it in, and Lynn Williams is offside. She's unimpressed. She thought she had her first goal in the W League, almost on cue. And the Jets dodge another bullet. Craig Deans was so unimpressed with their start to the match, and to be honest, they haven't got much better. Here is Williams. Well, she's onside. She is onside by a country mile there. Unless it's touched a wanderer on the way through, she looked to be onside by a mile. Cass Davis or Hannah Brewer is well behind her. So the Jets literally have dodged one there, big time. Here's Hun, former Jet, to Halloway. And Collister, her pass misguided, and Harps has made the journey back up to the commentary box. You're getting a lot of exercise this evening.
What have I missed? Controversy.
Very much so. If the VAR was in action tonight, Western Sydney would be a goal to the good.
Maybe.
Here's the ball in front of Amy Harrison. She couldn't bring it down. She was disappointed in that first touch.
She enjoyed the switch of play. She's been impressive tonight, Amy Harrison, back in her natural territory, from my vantage point at least, in midfield. And that's where her very, very big future lies, I believe. So Craig Deans talked about changing the formation of the Jets to try and cope with the Wanderers' possession.
Lynn Williams almost sliding it through for her Courage teammate Hamilton. Now a foot race between Collister and Hun, tracking it back to Abby Smith.
Looked a little late to engage the foot race there, Collister. She's got impressive speed. It's a real weapon Jets can use.
With the throw, but the first touch was much too heavy, and O'Sullivan profits, and then passes over here.
Well, they're the passes. Dean Heffernan was very happy with his team, but they're the passes that would be frustrating him. O'Sullivan, hugely accomplished player. Lynn Williams runs like the wind, and you've got no pressure on you to make the pass. Williams is in space. There's no need to hit the ball out. Players of that quality.
What about the strength there from Mastrantonio? Shoulder to shoulder with Tara Andrews and just wins back possession. She's been so impressive thus far. And now Lynn Williams with space across on this near side. Has Amy Harrison inboard. Williams cuts it across. There's Gemma Simon in the way. Here's an opportunity for Nevin. Straight at Claire Coelho. Almost had her first goal in the Westfield W League. Courtney Nevin. Good strike. Abby Smith, she's stuck behind Nicole Barnhart in Utah. Didn't play in the NWSL this past season. Barnhart, a former American national team goalkeeper, played over 50 matches, and Hamilton taking off again. Cass Davis is backtracking. Hamilton causing all kinds of problems. She has Lynn Williams at the back post. Harrison unmarked at the top of the D, and she took the strike on herself.
Well, that was good play from all players involved. They're very tidy turn from Hamilton, just beautiful. Tight, boxed in, gets rid of Hannah Brewer, zeroes in on the danger zone, but this defending from Cassidy Davis was excellent. Just delayed, great body position, got the angle completely right, feet didn't get crossed over, was in a position when she could shift the body as she needed and shepherded that one as well as could be expected, and the shot went wide. Great defending, impressive attacking.
While she plays at the back for the Jets, she plays in the midfield for Warners Bay in the Northern New South Wales WPL. 13 goals for her in the past season. And this her 74th consecutive match for the Newcastle Jets. Harrison stabs it back straight into Collister. Mastrantonio, very strong on the ball. Her first season at a club that's not Melbourne Victory or Perth Glory. She spent a number of seasons across those two clubs.
Look at Wheeler go. Gee, she's a tiger. What a fabulous little player.
Player of the match last week in the Jets win over Melbourne City. Absolutely outstanding alongside Libby Copus-Brown in the midfield.
I tell you what, I'd have Claire Wheeler in the trench next to me anytime. Something to fight for, something to play for. And she has got good touch to go with it.
And you think surely she's not far away from...
She's got to be in the fringe of the discussion. She's a great character and a fighter and a good player.
Matilda's duty we're talking about. At least getting in the squad and getting a chance.
And thankfully, she's got a bit of help now. With this readjustment during the rain break, the weather break, Elizabeth Copus-Brown has been brought back to play as a number 6 alongside Wheeler. They're playing with 2 6s now, and that's to address the space that Amy Harrison was getting unattended. So more policeman work for Copus-Brown, and it's an important job because Amy Harrison has looked to have quite the appetite for it tonight.
So inside the final 9 minutes before half-time. If you have just joined us, we had a half-an-hour break due to the weather. There was some thunderstorms and lightning around, so that means a 30-minute delay and heading towards half-time now, a little bit later than what we ordinarily would have. And still there is lightning around. Cooney cross. Back to Hun. Denise O'Sullivan. Now wide to Halloway. Can the captain come up with? Ball inboard is picked out by Claire Wheeler. Jenna Kingsley using her pace. The outside of her boot, and then Flannery's ball is behind Tess Tamplin. And Lynn Williams is able to profit. She has Kristen Hamilton in the middle of the box. She takes on Tamplin and Brewer. What a run this is from Williams, and then the pass goes astray. The American international. Sam Starb, fellow American, striding forward. No pass straight to Brewer. Tara Andrews, can she move it quickly? She attempted to, and gives a lot of work to Tegan Collister too much in the end.
Well, having given Tara Andrews plenty of accolades earned in this game, she mucked that one up. It was an easy pass to consolidate that opportunity to Copus-Brown. Instead, she went and hit the ball out looking for Colliston.
Flannery's pass picked out by Mastrantonio. And a statistic which is startling is the passing stat. Passes completed. We'll come back to that. Kristen Hamilton down to the byline. Gemma Simon keeping a watchful eye over her. Off the head of Cass Davis. Should be a, well, thought it came off the head of Davis. It's just going to be a goal kick. But the passing percentage completed, Newcastle at 55%, 46 of 83. And for Western Sydney, 89%, 213 of 240. So a whole lot more passes and the percentage a whole lot higher, and Newcastle are just giving away too much, really. Amy Harrison swinging it forward.
Well, they haven't had much possession to start with. And on 3 or 4 occasions, they've been more wasteful than was needed or expected.
Claire Wheeler taking the ball wide. Mastrantonio again. She's been everywhere for Western Sydney in the midfield. The 93rd match in the W League, the 27-year-old. Denise O'Sullivan, we're just getting her wires crossed with Kristen Hamilton. Those two are teammates in America, surprising to see. Halloway got a shoulder from Collister. That would not have tickled. It was under the rib cage as well. She went up to head that ball. So Nevin and Cooney cross. Standing over this one, you would expect Nevin again on that preferred left boot. The imports lining up on the edge of the D. O'Sullivan, Williams, Hamilton, they're all there. And Nevin's ball is floated towards Starb as well. Mastrantonio, that pass importantly intercepted by Tara Andrews. On the turf, Mastrantonio almost made something happen. Andrews looks forward, and if she found Tegan Collister, there were problems for the Wanderers, and the pass just didn't have the venom behind it. Starb. Mastrantonio into the run of O'Sullivan. Cooney cross. This Wanderer side having never made the finals in W League history. Trying to turn that around this year. Claire Wheeler goes to ground. So important for them to start the season strong, especially in such a short competition. 12 matches over 14 rounds. They win their first 2. And they've really got the momentum to carry them through to a first finals appearance. Craig Deans, the Jets coach, may have some more thinking to do at halftime. Collister on to Andrews. Try to roll past Holloway.
Well, she's a handful again. There's just little glimmers for the Jets. With the ball, they've been subpar. 2 or 3 occasions where they've shown a way forward, and that's largely getting the ball to Tara Andrews, of whom, of course, more is expected. Her last couple of passing options have been poor. That's the way forward for the Jets if they're going to redress this situation.
So Copus Brown, not a bad delivery. Falls for Jenna Kingsley. And it's going to be a corner for the Jets. I thought maybe she could have made something happen there, Kingsley, but couldn't get a boot around it.
Well, it's floated in, tantalising. Starb inadvertently nodding it down for a Jet, and Starb's been outstanding for the Wanderers in the game and a half she's played for them.
Here's the corner, the back post. Andrews was waiting, and again it was Starb winning the ball in the air, winning that duel with Tara Andrews thus far. And now Lynn Williams onto O'Sullivan, the Irish woman linking up with Williams. She takes on Tamplin and just burns around the outside of her, and the ball into the middle, straight into the arms of the Jets goalkeeper. Wheeler swarmed by a few Wanderers. Davis looks up and finds Gemma Simon. Hollister taking on Holloway, and Kelly Jones has pulled that up. Was there an opportunity to play advantage?
If you're going to pull that up, you've got to give a yellow card for a shirt pull. You've got to give a yellow card if you're going to stop that. Collister's away.
And Craig Deans is rubbing his eyes on the sideline. He wasn't impressed. Kelly Jones has said it's just a free kick, not cynical.
Well, then the illegal defending has been rewarded.
Copus Brown in front of Collister. And it's going to come to naught in the end for Newcastle.
Poor refereeing. Had a good game so far. Referee Jones had a very good game so far, but that was extremely poor.
So just a minute left of regulation time. We'll find out off the 4th official, Isabella Libri, how much added time we will get. Starb. Mastrantonio. To Cooney cross. Copus Brown against her opposite number. Unable to close it down. And now Claire Wheeler has some work to do as well. And does it absolutely brilliantly. And now it's been turned over. This could prove costly. Hamilton with the strike. Quaylo, really good save down low. It is slippery as well. And she did enough to prod it wide of the post.
Well, Hannah Brewer leaving it short. Hamilton going for that far post. I think she got her feet going as quickly as she wanted to, Claire Coelho, but in the end, she managed to push the ball to safety.
So just the 1 minute of added time in this truncated first half. Can the Wanderers put a cherry on top of a wonderful performance? And here is the strike straight at Coelho. Not a bad effort from Hamilton. And the goal kick from Coelho, not her best effort. It's found the Jets bench. May give the Wanderers one last chance here. 16 shots in this first half for Western Sydney. 2 for the Jets, but no goals to show for it. Hamilton taking on Simon. At the back post there, Cooney Cross has to track it down. That might be all there is in this opening half. And Kelly Jones agrees. Western Sydney utterly dominant before the rain delay and after it, but no goals. The story of this first half of action at Bankwest Stadium. Half time, it is Western Sydney 0, Newcastle Jets 0. Let's head downstairs with Victoria Slater.
Yeah, well, Erica, you must feel like you should be heading into the sheds in the lead there.
Yeah, we've been unlucky a few times. The posters are gotten in the way for a couple of the goals and offside, but, you know, we're playing well, and I think if we keep doing that for the second.
More of the same in the second half?
Yeah, I think so. They started pressing a little bit more in after that lightning break, but I think that we managed that well, and we'll come out firing second half.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, great to hear from the Wanderers captain there. They will be wondering how in the world they do head up that race without a goal to the good. We're off to a short break. On the other side, I'll be joined by Andy Harp to run our eye over all of the first half action live from Bankwest Stadium. Yeah, welcome back to Bankwest Stadium. I'm Tara Rush. It's great to have your company and to be joined yet again by Andy Harper.
Where have you been all my life, Tara?
Of course, we were just in action on the pod. Too much airtime for the both you and I, Harps. We did have the weather delay. We've had about 15 minutes of play at the back end of the first half. Western Sydney Wanderers well and truly in control in that second phase of play that we've seen.
Yeah, so one thing changed for Newcastle, one thing didn't. As the Wanderers machine rolled on, a couple of the tactical changes implemented by Craig Deans during the weather break were good ones. So Copus Brown's moved back into a number 6 to support Claire Wheeler, and that's to address the Amy Harrison situation. So I think that's a good shift. One thing that hasn't worked in transition between those periods for the Jets is their pass completion. Just horribly rushful when they've got time and space to really hit in the counter-attack. And more's expected, I'm sure, by Craig Deans off his players in that front.
One person that couldn't keep quiet is Lynn Williams, who, I mean, all of us, well, the majority of us, thought that she had her opening goal on her W League debut. Harps, how did you see it?
Well, I didn't. I was in the elevator, but I'm very keen to have a look now. Benny Homer was pretty insistent that there was probably onside. So no VAR in the W League. We're just left to the real-time naked eye of the match officials. But she's a mile onside. So, yeah, that's my first view of it. It should be a goal. And the Wanderers should have their award, which should be a goals lead.
Okay, so she must feel like it's going to be coming in the second half. I mean, what do? You look around, you think, I've had a weather delay, I've scored my first goal. No, I haven't. It really has been a W League debut that's kind of dished up everything for Lynn Williams. Looking at all of the chances that the Wanderers did create, yes, we were banging on about it before the weather break, and now we're going to bang on it post the weather break. Of course, the Wanderers, well, they've dominated the opening proceedings in this first half. Some really good attacking play from their side.
Well, they've got a lot of quality, and unfortunately, the W League is a comparatively short season, so they haven't got a lot of time to hit their straps. But I think with the quality of the players that have been brought together here at the Wanderers, every week that goes by, they're going to be more and more impressive. They've just got such great footballers on their books at the moment. Lynn Williams has stolen the headlights, but Hamilton scored last week and has had some very clever moments. Amy Harrison is growing back as a midfielder where she's at her best, I believe. Kyra Cooney-Cross has shown great power through the centre of midfield. And, they've knocked. And the goal, look, Coelho in the Newcastle goal hasn't been overly troubled. I think it'd be wrong to suggest that the Wanderers have laid siege to the Jets' goal. And for her part, Coelho, a little stutter there, but still saved as she needed to, has looked quite comfortable and certainly very competent in the Newcastle goal. So it's still, it's still there for the Jets up against, a really accomplished team who've dominated pretty much everything here tonight. But you couldn't say Lynn Williams is a chief culprit now because in that second stanza of the first half, after the weather break, did find some space in which to run and play and dribble and get around the penalty area facing the goal and couldn't deliver anything meaningful. So she'll be now at halftime trying to go through her own mental videotape and think, right, how do I do those situations better for the help of my team?
Craig Deans, he's tweaked a couple of things in midfield, potentially to keep Amy Harrison quiet. So what do you want to see from Amy Harrison come this second half? She's been pretty good exactly where she's playing in a bit of more of an advanced role in midfield.
It's a great challenge for her now because she was unpatrolled for the first 30 minutes of the match. And with the Jets' realignment in the second half, she's had someone, usually Copus Brown, right on a hammer. So that's a great challenge for her to peel off that, to lose the person who's marking you, to take that person into space that they can't affect the game. They can only watch you, and that'll open up more space for the other very good players. Master Antonio, Hamilton, as we've seen and reported repeatedly, Cooney-Cross, the more space she gets, the more dangerous she's going to be. So if it's not Amy Harrison, she can take Copus Brown away into another space and leave that whole avenue for one of the other talented players to use.
So Craig Deans, weather break, said they were terrible. I wonder what he's going to be saying now at halftime, Harps, because they did have a little bit of a moment. Of course, it came on the break. Jenna Kingsley. But what are they got to do more of in the second half?
Well, they've got to relax. When they've had the chances around the penalty area, particularly Tara Andrews, this is early in the game, so corner she won, and then really threatened from the corner that came. They've got to relax. It's easy to say when you've been under the pump that when the ball finally comes to you, can you just settle and relax? Because the adrenaline and the excitement is and the fight and flight mechanism is at overload, right? So, but at those moments, and your experienced players, and Tara's definitely in that category, once you've bustled your opponent away, or the ball's fallen for you into space, or you've just jagged something, and it settles there, and you have a quick look, and you've got Collister in particular twice. She's been so free. And the Jets, with an easy pass to make, if you just settle and make that pass, we can actually start building some pressure ourselves. So, you know, that's a long-winded answer, Tara. I apologise for that. But that, if I'm Craig Dean, that's the message. Come on, girls. There's been no problem with the Jets fight. You know, they've been right on the Wanderers as close as they can get, and they've really matched it physically. I got a question about how fast, much further some of them can go in that discussion. So that's fine. However, relax when you get the ball. The rare moments we've got it, let's make something of it, because it's not as though you're under pressure when you're hitting those bad passes.
Yeah, it is very true. And when those moments come up, you don't want to scuff your lines. Just a reminder, because of the weather delay that we had, because of the lightning and the thunder, this W League game, it was put on hold for 30 minutes. It does mean that kick-off to the A-League game that comes straight after this one will now be at 8:06 p.m. So everything's been pushed back by 30 minutes. So that might give you more time to get up the lift and down the lift.
He's my bestie now, the lift operator, I tell you. We have shared some special moments already today.
You two are building a really close relationship, Hubs. We are off to a short break, though. We've got a big second half coming up between the Western Sydney Wanderers and the Newcastle Jets on the other side. We'll see you soon.
Good afternoon and welcome to the revamped Bankwest Stadium for the first time in W League history as the Wanderers play the Jets. And despite their 2-1 victory against Adelaide in the opening match of the season, there's 3 changes for Western Sydney. Imports Denise O'Sullivan and Lynn Williams have moved into the starting 11, along with the hero of last week, Kyra Cooney-Cross, who scored that winner against Adelaide. Jets coach Craig Deans was pleased after his side took a point from Melbourne City last week. He's named an unchanged side. That includes Hannah Brewer, who plays her 99th match in the W League, and the two-pronged strike force of Jenna Kingsley and Tara Andrews, who scored 91 goals between them in 44 matches in northern New South Wales. The referee is Kelly Jones. Welcome back to Bankwest Stadium for round 2 of the Westfield W League, and Western Sydney Wanderers haven't beaten the Newcastle Jets in almost 3 years. They're out there early again. We have had a rain delay. That's why this match has been pushed back a little further into the evening. There was a 30-minute break midway through the first half, and after that break, Western Sydney with the first side back out, getting themselves warmed up. It's a similar story at the end of half-time. They're back out there, getting themselves ready. They've been the dominant side thus far. Tara Andrews has had some chances. Lynn Williams should have had the opening goal because she scored and she was onside. But the flag went up from the assistant, and it means it is still 0-0, but they'll be pretty pleased with the chances that they have created in the opening 45. 16 shots on goal to the Newcastle Jets 2. They haven't had a shot on target. Gemma Simon's side. And Tara Andrews muster one of those in the second half. We will wait and see. And the Jets get us back underway at Bankwest. Andy Harper, they have got a tough road ahead of them. Probably the only positive out of that first half for them is they haven't conceded yet.
Well, they did, but they got out of jail with it. And I agree with your summation. They need to pass the ball better. I'm not sure what Craig Deans expects and sets up for necessarily. I don't particularly expect a Jets team such as it's constituted against this Wanderers team, the way it's been built, to dominate possession, but I'd certainly expect them to do better with the ball when they do have it. And if they can manage that, the Jets, and they can seriously lay claim to some points here. Because their back four is well, back three as it is now, has defended very well. Keeper Coelho looks very comfortable.
Here's a free kick for Newcastle. This is how it occurred. Hamilton coming across Gemma Simon. Cass Davis standing over the ball. They scored their equaliser in the second half last week against Melbourne City. But it was a pretty consistent performance over the 90 minutes from the Jets last week. They need to really turn the temperature up in this second half if they are to challenge Western Sydney. And you just think once they get their combinations right, the Wanderers, they are going to be a force in this competition. Yeah,
well, you just hope the runway's long enough. It's only a 12-game season before finals, something like that. So just haven't really got time to muck around. And they will get better week by week. And been thoroughly impressed. I mean, she's not come with the same herald as her American compatriots, but Sam Starb looks every bit the resilient defender. Going to be very difficult for anyone in this league to beat.
And this woman has been outstanding thus far. Lynn Williams cutting it back straight to Claire Wheeler, who is a metronome in the midfield for Newcastle. Game number 58 in the W League for her. Here's Hun pushing the pass wide. Alloway dropping it back to Cooney Cross. Some work to do for Collister. And she's going to concede a corner, but she'll be pleased with that effort.
Good defending. Nice one too. Cooney Cross is growing as an influence. Collister timed that really well.
One of 3 changes for this match. Kyra Cooney Cross, Lynn Williams and Denise O'Sullivan, the other 2 that came into the side. So Courtney Vine on the bench for Western Sydney. We might get a look at her a little bit later, the former Jet. Milivojevic as well. And a bit of a pinball in the box. Appeals for handball against Claire Wheeler. Calmly back on the ball for Western Sydney. Starb. How about that ball? Just curves it inside the line for Lynn Williams. Inch perfect. Williams now drives into the box. And the strike is high and wide.
Well, I mean, the athletic differential between Williams and the mere mortals around her is stark. Look at her. I mean, there's just no stopping that sort of power. Here's the claims for the handball. And not video assisted, but doesn't need to be, because defenders, when the ball deflects onto their hands, it's play on. And then immediately subsequent to that, Williams in on goal and is expected to find the target at the very least.
There's the Wanderers coaching staff: Michael Beecham, Dean Heffernan, Kath Canuli as well. Wanderers leading goal scorer in their history with the 8. Lynn Williams could be on track to eclipse that this year if she has a great season. Here's an offside against Newcastle. Across W League history, they have struggled to score goals, Western Sydney. You could see Flannery just offside. Cooney cross. She takes on Copus. Brown beats her again. Holloway. To the match winner from last week. Here's the turn from Harrison. Fired that pass, and too much power for Courtney Nevin, who's been tracking down that left-hand sideline all evening. Too many Weet-Bix on that one from Harrison. Nevin back to Starb. Now Abby Smith. The Jets, I mentioned before, haven't had a shot on target. Well, even if they do get one on target, they've got to breach Abby Smith, who has been in red-hot form so far in the W League. Her performance last week against Adelaide was right up there, close to Casey Dumont's last night for Melbourne victory. Here is Star played in on goal. Claire Quaylo driving low on the ball. Centre half getting well forward. Did score the 1 goal in the NWSL this season just gone for the Spirit. Kingsley going to ground, and it looks pretty painful for the Jets attacker. Play does go on here for the Wanderers. Harrison threading it wide. They're not putting the ball out, Western Sydney. They're going for goal, and Denise O'Sullivan is going to prod it wide, but it has taken a deflection, so corner for the Wanderers. But Jenna Kingsley in some discomfort down the other end of the park. This is how it happened.
Well, that's a foul on Tun, isn't it? Didn't get any ball. There was a speculative effort. No contact with the ball, and takes out the Jets player. And from that, upfield go the Wanderers and win a corner. Controversial if they capitalise from this point.
Really fell awkwardly on that hip. Nevin bending in at the near post. Tara Andrews didn't know much about it, but she got it away. Another turn from Hoon. Mr. Antonio sees Kristen Hamilton. Nevin now turning in the midfield. So fluid, the Wanderers. Cooney cross. Onto Master Antonio. Was well inboard, curving it to the back post. Up goes Williams, drops it back to O'Sullivan. She doesn't score too many, Denise O'Sullivan. Went goalless in the recent NWSL season. Almost had a great show there for one. Now Claire Wheeler. On to Flannery. Well closed down by Amy Harrison.
Again, it's poor in transition from the Jets. Brilliant steal by Wheeler. And Flannery can play the ball diagonal and forward wide to Tessa Tamplin, who's away. But inexplicably, she ignores that and tries to switch the play. And another great opportunity goes wasted for Newcastle.
Pups, you were talking pre-game about the amount of energy the Jets may have used last week against Melbourne City, against the big names, getting themselves right up for the contest at home at number 2 Sports Ground. Are they looking a little tired?
I wouldn't say tired. I have got a couple of concerns that some of them mightn't be able to run the distance. That's the sign so far. But whilst their passing in transition has been poor, their general application has been A1. So their willingness and preparedness for combat is unquestioned. And they haven't let the Wanderers get past them if they've had a chance. So I think they're fighting really admirably. The Wanderers controlling possession. It's really nice to watch. But they're defending with great intensity. It's just this part of the game when they've got the Wanderers pushing forward that the second, third, or often even the first pass, their Wheeler's missed it, unlike her. But still, they're back under pressure by not making those passes stick.
Well, their most recent meeting was a huge win to the Jets, 4-1 in the final round last season. But earlier in the season here in Sydney, it was a 1-0 result the Jets' way. Jenna Kingsley scored the winner. So here is the change from Craig Deans. Nikki Flannery off, and you can see the strapping on that left thigh. So maybe a cork, maybe something more severe. But Lauren Allen is out there for her second W League appearance. She scored a bucket load of goals with the New Lambton Eagles in the WPL in northern New South Wales. 33 in 24 matches to be precise. Tara Andrews beat her in terms of leading goal scorer for the club. She scored 48. Those two were lethal for the championship, premiership winning side. Debut at 23 last week. Number 2 Sports Ground. Can she make something happen with her speed? And now Jenna Kingsley, well, she scored in that 1-0 win over the Wanderers last year. That was her only goal all season. She was almost in there with a shot. Smith awake to the potential for Kingsley to make something happen with her speed. Holloway up the line to Lynn Williams. I tell you what, the Wanderers, you'd forgive them for being a little bit frustrated. They're not showing it, though.
No, they're playing with great method. You know, they're sticking to their patterns. Just haven't had the quality in general in the penalty area to finish off their attacks, and a large part the credit for that has to go to the defending of Newcastle, who've been really resolute.
Williams square the pass up to Mastrantonio, breaking forward, curling it wide back to Williams. Was Mastrantonio. Williams looks at Simon, takes her on, stabbing it forward, and Kelly Jones considering it and blowing the penalty. She took a long time to decide it. Her assistant probably giving her some advice on that decision. And Claire Wheeler is blowing up, but Kelly Jones, I don't think, is going to change her decision.
Well, watching the referee here, she took forever. She took forever. Claire Wheeler's claiming it hit her in the ribs. She almost stumbled into the decision, the referee. It was hardly an instantaneous reaction. She was processing something. Maybe it was communication from her assistant.
There it was. It looks as though from that angle it hits the arm, but that's only one angle. So Amy Harrison, who hasn't scored in almost 5 years in the W League. Her last goal was against the Jets. And the drought is over for Amy Harrison. 1-0 to Western Sydney Wanderers. A lead they deserve. Claire Coelho trying to inspire her side. They're going to have to produce something special now, the Jets, because the Wanderers will go in for the kill.
Well, this will be... Well, I don't know that that's handball at all. No, Claire Wheeler's adamant still. She's expressing... It's a good penalty from Amy Harrison. Coelho just... Outred doesn't move, and it's the lead, frankly, that the Wanderers deserve. having put that to bed, Claire Wheeler adamant it hit her in the midriff, and I think that second replay backs it up.
Well, if any Jets fans are feeling a little hard done by, there was a goal in the first half that Western Sydney rightfully scored. It was ruled out because the assistant put her flag up. So swings and roundabouts, that is what happens in sport. And if that one goes against the Jets, they got one going their way in the first half. So probably evens itself out in the end. It's Kristen Hamilton taking off down the left-hand edge, back to Harrison. As I mentioned in that first half, her last goal came in that 2-2 draw with the Jets almost 5 years ago, a match which featured a deluge, which we almost had this afternoon, you could say. More of a thunderstorm. Funny how these things pan out. And you can just see her confidence building, Amy Harrison, in that midfield role. So Tegan Collister being asked to, oh, it's almost slipped over there. It is a little bit slippery, the Bankwest Stadium surface, and now the ball is stuck to her boot like glue. Inside the final half an hour, 19 shots to 2. That's the tale of this afternoon's clash. The Jets seemingly have no answers to this Wanderers onslaught. Nevin. Harrison being asked to do a fair bit of running. And has the ball stayed in? It hasn't. O'Sullivan. And Hamilton onto Amy Harrison. Next to Antonio, dropping it back to Cooney Cross. Out-muscled by Tegan Collister. But Cooney Cross back on the ball. She decides to take on the strike, and Claire Quaylo in the middle of her goal took it well.
It's been strong pretty much since the break for the weather. Cooney Cross has looked really strong. It's got so many avenues to goal to the Wanderers.
Well, Harps, I was just thinking about the Matildas' problems with penalties of late. Sam Kerr missing one recently, having it saved, and Tamika Yallop last night. Has Amy Harrison done enough to secure the penalty-taking duties if she is on the park for the Matildas? That was a pretty confident penalty.
Well, it was, but one hot day doesn't make a summer, Benny.
Gone off a bit early.
But I appreciate your speculation.
Just planning ahead. Here's Lynn Williams into the box and towards the byline. She's done well to keep her footing. There's the ball across goal. Claire Quaylo comfortable again in the air. Harrison just 23 years of age, and if she stays injury-free, you would expect her to be playing a big role in the 2023 Women's World Cup, which hopefully will be on these shores. Andrews towards Wheeler. Picked off again by the Wanderers. On that occasion, Mastrantonio. It's been so crucial in the midfield for Western Sydney thus far. As Williams again taking on Gemma Simon, beating her for pace. Dangerous ball across. Davis's clearance was decent enough. Good link-up play. Holloway's ball across and straight into the waiting arms of Quaylo. She's going to launch this one long. Jenna Kingsley seemingly recovered from that bump she copped a little earlier, and Hoodin is just going to launch that one into the grandstand.
Yeah, good foot race and not a bad tactic. And Claire Coelho has been really impressive in the Newcastle goal. Very solid with the work she's done. Very convincing, very confident. That was a good take off the cross and then launched that with great accuracy.
Well, her last season of action was a couple of years back 2016, when she played for the Jets, she played one match for Sydney FC in 2017 as an injury replacement, but she came on early in the match for Kelsey Weiss, the Jets American import, and was player of the match against Perth Glory, led by Sam Kerr. Kept her at bay and they won a 1-0 clean sheet. So she's done a lot of hard work behind Britt Eckerstrom over the last few seasons.
Yeah, right. Well, if Angus Thurgate out of Port Macquarie is the Port Macquarie Pele, Claire Coelho out of Port Macquarie is the Port Macquarie Peter Shilton, Peter Schmeichel, and I'm struggling, Benny, unless you can help me with an elite goalkeeper from the women's game named Peter something, or P, anything.
I was thinking of the ex-Swedish coach, Pia Sunder.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if she was a goalkeeper. Have to check that. Here's Hamilton.
Just trying to do some of the groundwork for the sub-editors in the press corps up at Port Macquarie. In any event, they can be rightly proud of their two exports to the elite competition in Australia. Angus Thurgate scored the winner for the Jets last week, and Claire Coelho on screen doing a great job in goal for the Jets here.
Well, that was interesting from Sam Starb. She's just thrown the ball down towards the Jets bench. No card from Kelly Jones. So Lauren Allen, who has barely touched the ball since she's come onto the park, not her fault. So Courtney Nevin back to Starb, returns the favour. Nevin taking off, using the momentum from behind of Lauren Allen. This ball slid across towards the middle. Simon's ball took a deflection, may fall here nicely for Newcastle. Tegan Collister taken wide by Wanderers defence. That is Erica Holloway getting across there. Collister brought it down well. She looked for a teammate, she doesn't, and you can see the goal kick in the end.
Yeah, outnumbered in the end, unfortunately, for Collister. Just couldn't stop the ball a little bit earlier and give herself a little bit more room in which to work. Despite being basically outplayed for most of the game, the Jets only need one good moment, one good execution, and they're back level. It has to be a focus of their thinking.
Starb along the turf to Nevin. Measured that pass to Cooney Cross. In her third season of the W League, the 17-year-old. Here's the run of Holloway. The captain showing plenty of toe down the far side of the ground. Up front, she played in the win over Adelaide, now playing at right fullback, and clips that ball across and does enough to win a corner for the Wanderers.
Well, another good incursion for the Wanderers. Pressure really building. Jets' defence ultimately has been really strong. But there's still so much time in the way things are going, so much pressure to absorb.
Well, they're not in a hurry to take this corner, are they, the Wanderers? Courtney Nevin just strolling across. And that lady get on the score sheet. Lynn Williams. It's just beyond her. Sam Starb got ahead to it. She's saying it took a deflection. Not according to Kelly Jones. Amy Harrison's penalty, the difference between the two sides. Her first goal in nearly 5 years. Goes O'Sullivan. Tamplin. Away from Hamilton, but straight to O'Sullivan. And now Wheeler. Well, Jones has blown up another free kick there in the middle of the park. Very stop-start the last few minutes. Here it was. Lauren Allen and Denise O'Sullivan. Was there a foul in that? Mastro Antonio. Holloway back to Hun. Abby Smith came off Collister. Tara Andrews spinning and turning. She does like a strike from distance, and it just curves wide. Abby Smith was interested.
Clever play from Tara Andrews, and to cause such a scrambling over from the goalkeeper from a standing start. But beautiful technique to pivot twice and then to get anything on that shot with no opportunity for a decent wind-up. Great play.
Just magical to watch. Similar turn she produced in the WPL Grand Final. She scored the winning goal in extra time for New Lambton Eagles against Jenna Kingsley. I should say against Merewether United. It was Jenna Kingsley and Cass Davis's Warners Bay who were the runners-up last year. They were knocked out in the semi-finals in the season just gone. It's Riley Dobson's Merewether United side. Here are Wanderers pushing forward again. Mastro Antonio hooking it back to Nevin. Courtney Nevin just stabbing it forward up and over the head of Hamilton. I really want to make this 2 because while it's still a goal, the Jets is still a chance, especially while Tara Andrews is there, can score from anywhere. Williams just cantering forward again, and Amy Harrison, the ball was always just running away from her. So Sam Starb now taking a little more time off the clock with the long throw here, right against the fence. Collister with the header away. Lauren Allen in a duel with Nevin, who just won out. And the free kick going Newcastle's way. The Jets having won the last 3 matches between these two sides. It's been almost 3 years since Western Sydney took all 3 points away from a match with the Jets. Are they on their way to doing that at the revamped Bankwest Stadium? Hamilton taking on Brewer, cutting it across goal. Amy Harrison looking for a double.
Well, there's been a procession of Wanderers attacks into the Jets penalty area, cutbacks to players in possession, but ultimately, having conceded pretty much the whole ground, this last-ditch scrambling and protecting a 6-yard box has been really effective from the Jets, and they've had to adapt to it. I'm sure they'd be preferring to do their defending further upfield and have more possession, but the way the game has pretty much unfolded, they've been completely reliant on that last-minute scrambling and resilience, and it's served them well. It's kept them in the game.
And the only goal they've conceded from the penalty, which you could say was a little unlucky against Claire Wheeler, it's been one of the Jets' best. So no goals from open play for Western Sydney. Little asterisk there. They did score, but was ruled out for offside, and it was onside, that goal for Lynn Williams. So she'll have to go again and try and score her first goal in the W League. She's surely a shout for Golden Boot if she can find the form she has shown in America over the last few seasons with Western New York Flash and also North Carolina Courage. Here she is. Williams curving it wide. Decent ball to Hamilton. Just left it behind. She takes on Brewer again, Hamilton. Quite low at the near post. Confident. It's just trickling towards her on the bounce. a side that's behind, they're taking a fair bit of time off the clock themselves, Newcastle. Hollister with the throw. Not much urgency there. Tamplin. Now Tara Andrews. Again, spinning and turning past a couple and over-hitting the ball in front of Tamplin.
It's a bit of a story. Really, really good work to get out of the hot spot. Tara Andrews and over-hitting the pass. Tamplin's away. With even just a fraction less porridge on the pass.
We've had wheat bix, porridge. What other breakfast item of food are we going to bring out, Harps? Here's Kelly Jones bringing out a yellow card for Hannah Brewer for a cynical foul inside the final 15 minutes now. Western Sydney, they really want a second to just kill off the Jets because they're just hanging around at the moment. Confirmation of that yellow card for Hannah Brewer. So Cooney Cross. The set piece again. Headed away only as far as Williams. Again, the radar off for the American.
Well, the ball fell invitingly. Cooney Cross drops the ball in. Just don't really deal with this one, anything effective. And Williams, having seen off Tara Andrews, who was marking her, then couldn't control the volley. But she has got a bag full of goals in her this W League season, one would imagine.
Western Sydney heading for their second victory of the season, remembering that last year they won just one match the entire year. He's the new man at the helm, Dean Heffernan. He's bringing a winning mentality to this side. He says the camaraderie is like none other he's been a part of before. He's been so impressed by how the team has come together. Remembering their best ever season was the first year of the W League, 12-13. The first year the Wanderers were in the W League, 2012-13, and they won 4 matches and finished 6th. So they'd be halfway there after just 2 rounds if they can hold on for the 3 points. Not really hold on. They're absolutely dominating at the moment, and Lynn Williams has been a big part of that. Speeding away from Claire Wheeler. She has Hamilton in the middle. Williams cutting it back, and Wheeler just put her body on the line. All heart from the Newcastle Jets midfielder.
Brilliant. Could you have forgiven Claire Wheeler at about halfway? Just sort of blow this, I'm not chasing Lynn, I'm not going to get anywhere near her. But completely true to her character, she just sticks to it. And in the end, it pays a dividend. More defending to do for Newcastle, but terrifically dogged work from Claire Wheeler. But what an athlete, Lynn Williams.
So Mastrantonio sizing up the shot, Starb at the back post. Yeah, very talented athlete, Claire Wheeler, not just at football, but a range of sports. Copus Brown angles a pass inboard. There were 2 Jets lining up unmarked at the back post. Here is a free kick. Is that worthy of a yellow card, Harps? Yes, it is, according to Kelly Jones for Erica Halloway.
Well, Hollister has been in a couple of situations tonight where she might have won free kicks. Didn't eventuate. On this occasion, was probably rescued. There's no doubt it's a free kick, but Tegan hasn't been able to control that at all. She's never going to get there, and it's something for nothing for the Jets. Can they make from this free kick a moment to make the Wanderers fans nervous?
Well, is there something special from the set piece from Newcastle, who haven't had a shot on target in almost 79 minutes thus far? How often do we see it happen? The Newcastle chant reverberating around Bankwest Stadium, you can hear. Good on the Newcastle fans, because it's not a double header for them. Melbourne City playing in the A-League after this one against Western Sydney. That match has been delayed. We'll have more info on that as to the kick-off time for the A-League in just a second. So Jenna Kingsley off. Pana Petratos, the sister of the Petratos boys, is now out there for the Jets. Scored her first goal in the W League last season. So Tara Andrews just going for power. It does get them another strike on goal in the statistics column, but not on target and not challenging Abby Smith. So we did, of course, have that delay for half an hour midway through the first half in this W League clash. Due to the thunderstorms, it means the A-League kickoff has been delayed by half an hour. So the match will kick off at 8 p.m. local time here in Sydney. So just repeating that, the A-League match between Western Sydney Wanderers and Melbourne City will now kick off at 8 p.m. local time due to this delayed W League match because of the thunderstorms, which were around a little earlier. Gemma Simon chipping forward. Tegan Collister is after it. Abby Smith coming a long way from goal. And she had to knock it up the ground and did so. It was effective from the American keeper, but Collister is down. She was cleaned up by Smith. And she's still prone on the turf, Tegan Collister. So Hannah Brewer not putting it out as of yet. And now Kelly Jones has had to stop the play. So we'll have another look at this on the replay. How big was the collision between Smith and Collister?
Oh, she does brilliantly, Collister. Again, an impressive performance, but she's collected by Abby Smith, who was just focused on the ball. It was committed goalkeeping. Any question that she left a boot up there?
Yeah, I think definitely the stud has got her in the just above the right knee, has it?
Well, there's no question in my mind that she got to the ball first. It was whether the boot was raised afterwards.
And Craig Deans is questioning why there isn't a free kick going his side's way. It was the follow-through from Smith. Obviously, she got the ball, but it was the follow-through here on Collister. Bang, just above the right knee.
Well, the benefit of any doubt goes with the goalkeeper. It was the follow-through which has collected Tegan Collister. We obviously wish her the best. She's been great tonight for the Jets. A wholehearted performance.
You just can see a little bit of blood there. And what a couple of seasons, or a season and a little bit, she has had for the Jets. 3 goals in the W League in this now her 13th appearance. Scored 3 goals during the NPLW in New South Wales with Sydney Uni, who won the grand final in a penalty shootout against the Northern Tigers. Alongside Claire Wheeler, Nikki Flannery, Courtney Vine, who we haven't seen so far on the Wanderers bench, and also Courtney Newbon, who was the keeper for that side, the Wanderers backup goalkeeper. Will no doubt be learning a lot from Abby Smith.
Well, tipping the scales at just 19 years of age,
Well,
Collister.
hang on a second. Craig Deans has just gone into the book for a yellow card. He's having too much to say, according to Kelly Jones. Was that to her? Was that to the 4th official? Not 100% sure, but Craig Deans now has to tread carefully. And Abby Smith has gone into the book for a yellow card, and Kelly Jones is going to bring it back for a free kick. Is she allowed to do that after play went on after the initial collision? Very interesting indeed.
Well, don't ask me to explain. Ben, please.
So Wanderers players are now swarming Kelly Jones, saying, well, play went on. And you didn't blow it up immediately. And she didn't. Play went on. And we had a stoppage. replays around Bankwest Stadium, and now the free kick has gone the way of the Jets.
Well, Collister yet to retake the field. Let's hope she can.
And while that's all happening, Paige Kingston-Hogg is getting ready. She made her debut for the Jets last week off the bench against City, and she's now getting ready to come on to Bankwest Stadium.
Well, Tara Andrews surely is the target here. She's going to have to do something special to see off Sam Starb. I'm imagining that's going to be the matchup. Although Starb at the moment is defending zone. Great opportunity for Tara Andrews here. Her nemesis is a safe distance away.
So it's Copus, Brown and Simon. The brains trust over the ball. Probably suits Gemma Simon somewhat more, but she's going to leave it for Copus Brown, who sits it up at the back post. Abby Smith claims it well. Confident grab from the keeper.
That's great goalkeeping. Feeling aggrieved that the goal kick, that the free kick was given away in the first place, or awarded at least. Through traffic, committed for the ball. Everyone else just has to get out the way. Exactly what Dean Heffernan or any coach in that situation would want from their goalkeeper.
So more frustration at the referee. Now Kristen Hamilton is blowing up. So she's just got to keep a lid on things here, Kelly Jones, because both sides are now getting frustrated with the lady in the middle of Bankwest Stadium. So Tegan Collister now making way for Paige Kingston-Hogg. So all three changes for the Jets have been made now. None for the Wanderers. Dean Heffernan happy with his starting 11. Ball powered forward by Gemma Simon. Kingston-Hogg on the turn. There is the run from Lauren Allen, and Kingston-Hogg's pass straight to Abby Smith. Maybe needed a bit more composure, the 18-year-old, in just her second match. Starb. Great turn away from Petratos, but in the pass to Tamplin, whose cross way too close.
Oh, it's unfortunate for Tamplin. She's been impressive too tonight in a team not well beaten on the scoreboard, but well beaten across the park so far, the Jets. Tamplin hasn't really missed a beat. She's got great engines up and down the right-hand side for the Jets. Just at that moment, a little bit more quality required. Couldn't deliver, unfortunately, for her team.
And another 18-year-old in the Jets side. She was playing for the emerging Jets during the season in Sydney in the NPLW. Scored her first W League goal against Western Sydney in the final round last year. She was pretty excited about that as well. Bit of confusion over whether the ball went out or not. It's been a strange match, this one.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it, Benny. The Wanderers, for all their dominance, just haven't been able to kick clear. Had a decent goal disallowed for offside, and then a penalty awarded, which very dubious indeed. But net result is they got the goal they deserved. Haven't been able to go on with that. Claire Coelho in the Newcastle goal, just to repeat, has looked very assured and hasn't really been tested. The police in front of her have done a great job in the last ditch stakes.
Lynn Williams trying to nudge the ball past Lauren Allen, and then she's won the ball back now. Striding forward, was there a handball? There was. Yeah, I don't know how this analogy is going to go, but it's just felt like a bit of a slow burn. I've just been expecting it to build up to something, and in the end it's just the penalty which is going to be the difference, or is the difference between the two sides at the moment. A bit like one of those runs that you do when you're running in quicksand. You feel like you're in quicksand. You just think, come on, am I going to feel good at some point? just hasn't quite risen. Here's Cooney Cross from the set piece. And the strike going wide. Both sides would be disappointed in their finishing. You'd have to say, especially Western Sydney Wanderers. Lynn Williams with some good chances. There's Cooney Cross. Strike blocked by Lauren Allen. And as you said, Hubs, the Jets have to be given credit for their scrambling at the back. So probably a bit of stoppage time on the way, because we had that stoppage for a few minutes with Tegan Collister getting some attention. So Hamilton. Mr. Antonio to the back post. It's Claire Wheeler again with the header away. Kingston Hogg. Calmly back to Wheeler. Fire a Wanderer to Simon. Reefed up the line to Lauren Allen. To Tratos. The Jet substitutes trying to make something happen. So we've got 5 minutes of additional time. Brewer wide to Tess Tamplin. For those who have just joined us, a reminder, the A-League will kick off at 8 p.m. tonight. This match was delayed by half an hour midway through the first half due to thunderstorms around the area. So 8 p.m. kickoff time for the A-League. That is between Western Sydney Wanderers and Melbourne City. Cooney Cross couldn't make a way through Wheeler and Tamplin. Nevin. Master Antonio on to Starb. Williams. Slips by Wheeler. Another foul. For the Jets, it'll be back to the drawing board. They have got Canberra United at home at McDonald Jones Stadium next Saturday. That's before the A-League clash between the Jets and the Wanderers. Cooney Cross. Right to Hamilton. The American to the American. Williams. Away from Tamplin. To the byline. Neat turn from Lynn Williams. Former NWSL Golden Boot, just turning the Jets inside and out, and now taking it to the corner. And it's another problem here for a Jet. This time Hannah Brewer going to ground and limping heavily. Maybe a problem with the left knee. They've been in the wars. You just say Lynn Williams here. Oh, yeah. Little hyperextension there. I want to see that too many times. And Williams, look at it, just holding off the strength of Lynn Williams. She's been in the most recent American side. 2 goals against Costa Rica in their 6-0 win a few weeks ago. She's in favour under the new coach Vlatko Adanovsky. She'll be hoping she is heading to the Olympics in Tokyo next year with the American national side. We'll have some unfinished business there. Williams holding it into the corner again. It's been really good in World Cups, the American side, but in the Olympics, I want to just turn their form around. Not a great story in Rio a bit over 3 years ago. Stubb. Dinking forward to Hamilton. Goal scorer last week against Adelaide. Ridden to ground by Tamplin. Just 90 seconds remaining in this one. Unless, of course, Kelly Jones decides to add on a little bit more time. It's been a long evening for these two sides. Amy Harrison's goal, the difference from the penalty spot. Cooney Cross, away from Copus Brown. Wheeler. Now Lauren Allen. Is there a sting in the tail from the Jets? Can they make something happen? They've struggled all afternoon. And Lauren Allen giving it everything. Putting the pressure on Holloway. Will be a throw going against her. But if the Jets are to make something happen, it would be a miracle inside the final minute. This is the end of the ground they need to be at, obviously. Holloway holding off Petratos. Throw from Copus Brown. Andrews is trying to hold off Mastrantonio. So no changes from Western Sydney Wanderers. No chance for Courtney Vine to come out against her former side. Brewer plonks it forward. Andrews with a back to goal, and now she's gone down with a problem. Lauren Allen spinning and turning. Back to Cass Davis. Time is expiring quickly for Newcastle. Starb with the clearance away to Lynn Williams. And the Wanderers make it back-to-back wins to start a season in the W League for the first time in their history. What a start for Dean Heffernan's side. And they produced a dominant performance back home at Bankwest Stadium for the first time since it was revamped. 26 shots to 4. And it was Amy Harrison's goal from the penalty spot. Her first goal in nearly 5 years, the difference between the two. Lynn Williams probably unfortunate to have her goal chalked off for offside, even though she was behind the final defender. And Newcastle, well, back to the drawing board for them. They play Canberra next week. It finishes Western Sydney 1, Newcastle Jets 0.
Yeah, well, what a result for the Western Sydney Wanderers. They get the job done, 2 from 2, a fantastic start for them to open the Westfield W League season round 2. It is, and Amy Harrison, she breaks her nearly 5-year goal drought to get the job on the way. You've got to say, Andy Harper, it was a little bit topsy-turvy for the Wanderers there. Lynn Williams looked to have scored a goal, but then it was adjudged to be offside.
Yeah.
Claire Wheeler gets to, it seems that she's adjudged to have handed the ball or ball to hand, etc., and then the Wanderers get delivered a penalty which Amy Harrison converts.
Look, I think, Tara, in all fairness, the right team won. But based on all the football that the Wanderers played, they deserved at least a goal.